In this video, I'm going to be ranking all of the creature variants in ARK Survival Evolved. So I'm not going to be doing the aberrant variants because there's like 40 of those and they're all just like a little bit glowy on the side. I'm just going to be ranking the R and X variants because those are the main variants that you find in Genesis Part 1 and 2. And there's not really many other ones other than those. So those total around 39, so pretty much almost 40 creatures. I'm going to be ranking them all from worst to best in this video. Coming in at last place at 39 is the X Sabertooth Salmon. Now this is actually the only lunar variant. If you don't know how the X creatures work, basically there's 5 different biomes on Genesis Part 1, and each one has their own different types of X variant. And the one for the lunar biome only has one creature, and it is the Sabertooth Salmon, which honestly isn't the greatest looking one. It does kind of look cool glowing in the dark, but it is a fish, so there's not really much you can do with it. But the main reason there's no other lunar variants in the biome is because they're all tech creatures. But moving on from that, our next place is 38, which is the Armadillo. Not really much to this one. There's a few little patterns on it, but the Armadillo is not that useful of a creature anyway, so it's going to rank pretty low on the list because there's just a lot better ones on here. After that, though, at number 37 is the ARK gas bags. This one just has a little pattern on the side. There's not really much to it, and I don't really use the gas bags that much, even though I know a lot of people do end up using it. But at number 36, we have the Armadillo. I also feel like the pattern on this one isn't the greatest ever, which is why I have it lower here. I just think the other ones are a bit cooler, so we're going to have these few at the bottom here. Number 35, we have the Turtle. This one is cool because the pattern on the back is really nice. Like, it's got a really cool pattern on the back of its shell, which is why I have it higher than the other ones. Number 34, we have the Parasaur. Now, this one, there's actually 2 Parasaur variants, which only 2 creatures have that on this list where they have 2 different variants. But the Parasaur is the weaker compared to the other variant. It's just got a few stripes on the back of it. Moving on from that, at number 33, we have the Carno. This one also, I don't really use Carnos ever, and the pattern isn't anything too crazy, so that's why it's going to be put at the lower side of this list. Next, we have the 32, which is the X Parasaur, which I think looks a lot better than the regular Parasaur, but still not ranking that high because I think there's better ones on here, and the Parasaur isn't the most useful of creatures, but it does have a cool pattern. Number 31 is the Procoptodon. This one, I like the pattern on it, the little spots and stuff. It just looks really nice, but the Procoptodon isn't one I use too much, but I do like it. Number 30 is the Megatherium. This one's got some cool like face patterns and stuff like that, which is pretty nice, but not the greatest on here, so obviously it's going to be at the 30. Number 29 is the X Woolly Rhino. This one's got like some kind of like stripe patterns coming from the bottom of it going upwards, and it looks pretty nice, but overall not the greatest. So this is actually the other creature that has 2 variants on this list, and this one is the weaker of both of them. I do like it, but it's not anything crazy. Number 27 is the X Megalodon. This one is cool, but it's the lowest of all the underwater creatures. It just has a few stripes on its back, and I feel like the other underwater creatures have a lot more going for them. Also the Megalodon, I feel like it needs a TLC. I mentioned this in a video the other day, but I feel like just because of both of those, it kind of holds it back. 26, we have the Equus. This one has a really cool like spotted pattern on the design with the stripes going up in front of it, and I think it is a really nice looking one as well, but I do think there's better on here, which is why it's just at 26. And then we have the X Parasaur. This one's got a really cool like design where the feet basically are like completely different from the rest of it, as well as the pattern on the top of it, which is why I have it above all the other ones so far. I think it's kind of cool. And then at 24, we have the X Basileau. This one is not the greatest of the underwater creatures, but I do like the pattern on it, and the Basileau is pretty cool. I know some people complain about the fact that the stripes go over the other old stripes, but I personally don't mind it that much. At 23, we have the X Dunkleyo. This one I think is a step ahead from the Basileau, definitely. The patterns on the face look really cool, as well as the spots on the back. So overall, the looks on this one are really cool compared to that one. Definitely a jump. And then at 22, we have the Bronto. Now, the Bronto isn't the best looking of creatures in the game, but the reason I have it on here is that I think the pattern is really cool, that it goes across the entire body on the Bronto. Number 21, we have the X Raptor, which I think is a really nice looking one. Overall, the patterns on it I think are pretty cool, but now we're getting into like the top 20, and all of these are kind of hard to rank because they all do look pretty cool. But coming in at number 20 is the Volcanic. This one's better than the Raptor, I think, just because the patterns are really cool. Also, it's another DLC creature, which there's not many DLC creatures that have variants on them, and the ones that do have them are pretty cool, like the Volcanic. Then we have the Quetzal at 19. And the Quetzal is one of my favorite creatures in the game, even though I do think it needs to be like given a TLC and revamped. I would love that they did that, but sidetracked aside, the patterns on it are really cool, and I do like it a lot. And number 18 is the X Ichthy, and this one looks absolutely sick with that pattern on the back of it. It's like completely unique. No other underwater creature has it, but it's like that underwater looking like glowing part. I don't even know like how to describe it, but you can see it right here. It looks really cool, but it is just an Ichthy, so it's going to stay at 18. And then number 17, we have the X Mosasaur, which is the highest ranking of all the underwater creatures. This one just has a lot of going on it, like the glowing tail at the back, or the glowing tail fins, as well as just the cool stripes and spots on it look really dope. Then number 16, we have the R Thyla. The Thyla is one of the coolest creatures in the game, and it having a variant with a completely different pattern, of course, is going to be really cool with like this spotted kind of design. I do like it. And number 15, we have the X Terrajapa. The patterns on the wings and stuff are absolutely dope. I do like it a lot, but of course it's on Genesis Part 1, and you can't even use flyers on Genesis Part 1, which is kind of sad. And then at number 14, we have the X Enki, and the first of the Volcanic variants. Now the Volcanic variants, you'll notice later on the list, are like my absolute favorite, but out of all of them, the Enki is definitely the least, but it still looks really, really cool. And at 13, we have the X Otter. The Otter is one of the most favorited shoulder pets in the game, and it's definitely one of my favorites. And in fact, it has an X variant with a really cool pattern on it. It's definitely going to place high. Number 12, you have the X Aloe. This is the other Aloe variant, and you can see there's a big gap between those two because this variant looks a lot better. Of course, all the Volcanic variants are absolutely awesome looking, so of course I'm going to place it high. But then we have the X Yudi, which before I had it under the Aloe, but then I decided to change my mind because it looks really nice. The Utyrannus with the Arctic biome X variant. It's got some really nice patterns on it, like going around with like the spots that are like circulated with other spots. I don't know, that's probably a really bad description of it, but it looks really cool. And then we have the X Saber just above that. These ones you could probably swap, I don't know, they're really close, but the X Saber looks really cool as well. It's like all these spots and stuff other than these stripes that it would normally have. Actually, it doesn't really have many stripes, but like the really cool spots I think look nice. And at number 9 is the R Snow Owl. This one's got cool patterns on it as well, but overall the Snow Owl is one of the coolest creatures in the game, and so it having a variant as well as being one of the DLC creature variants definitely brings it up. And when you mutate it, it gets some really cool colors, because the wild brown color that it usually spawns in is not that good, but when you get some mutations, this thing can look absolutely unbelievable. And then at number 8, we have the R Direwolf. This one, I don't even use the Direwolf that much, but the patterns on this one are just too good not to have it up here because it looks absolutely phenomenal, as you can see right here. And at number 7, we have the X Spino. The Spino is one of the coolest creatures of the game, so the fact it has a variant with a really cool pattern on it and like that pattern going down its sail, it's absolutely great. So of course it's going to place at the top 10. And then number 6, we have the XRG. The RG is obviously one of the most useful creatures in the game, so the fact that they gave it a variant in Genesis Part 1, it's going to place high. And as well as the patterns are really cool, and you can get some really great colors out of it with like the spots and then like the different colored tail. It's great. And number 5, we have the X Trike. I'm placing the X Trike this high because I love the look of the Volcanic X variants. They just, I don't know, the volcano like lava going down its back, it looks so cool, which is why I have to place it high. And number 4, we have the X Rock Elemental. This one looks completely different from the regular Rock Elemental, turning the whole thing like black with like the lava inside the cracks. It's really cool, so obviously I'm going to be placing this one at number 4. Number 3, we have the R Reaper. The Reaper is probably one of the coolest DLC creatures, and it's great that it got a variation in Genesis Part 2, and you can get some really crazy colors on Genesis Part 2 with the variant, and I think it looks great, so it's going to be at number 3. Number 2, we have the R Giga. This is one of the best creatures in the entire game. Obviously, it's really strong, and the fact it finally got a variant in Genesis Part 2 is absolutely great, and it looks phenomenal as well. You got the giant stripes going, like covering almost its entire body. You can get some really crazy colors on Genesis 2, which makes it great. But there's going to be one that's better, and that is the X-Rex at number 1. The Volcanic variants are some of my favorite in the entire game. So it looking on a Rex looks absolutely insane. I think it goes perfectly with it, which is why it's going to be going at number 1. But that's going to be it for this video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Thanks for watching, and bye.